It's the most dramatic, if not the most important tool in fighting forest fires. Maine uses 4 helicopters to fight wildfires. Most fires are small, and quick response is important to control them. John Crowley is Maine's chief pilot.
The helicopter keeps the fire out of the trees. If a fire gets into a softwood set of trees and it starts to crown and move, it moves very quickly, and that's incredibly dangerous.
The Hueys are an important platform for a number of reasons. The first is they can easily get to a fire in the backcountry where it will take time for rangers to rally, or there is no local fire department.
Very quickly, you're trying to assess, do you have enough resources on hand to handle that fire? But I quite often will be one of the first assets there, and I can start relaying back that we're going to need more help.
The Forest Service is responsible for any fire outside a structure, but they work closely with local fire departments, which often provide the majority of the people power and equipment. The person in charge of the fire is always on the ground, and John emphasizes that fires are put out by people, pumps, and hoses on the ground. However, the helicopters are a big aid, not just because they can dump water, but because they can provide information. Bob Lefevre is the chief in Gorham.
The pilot can radio back to me as the incident commander and let me know which way the fire is extending, what we've got ahead of the fire that we have to be concerned with.
After assessing the fire, John, a former Marine Corps pilot, lands and pulls out the 110-pound water bucket. He then takes off again, hovering the Huey to make sure that the cabling beneath is correct.
I've got a mirror that's in between my boots here, and the mirror shoots back to the hook. So as I pick up and move over the bucket, I'll lift it up and make sure that it's working well and it's hanging well and the cables aren't tangled. And then I'll fly over whatever the closest body of water.
One great thing about Maine, there's always water nearby. John reports that in his 11 years of flying for the Forest Service, he's never been more than a couple of minutes from water.
And you actually settle the helicopter down until the bucket, which is about 20 feet below the aircraft, settles into the water. And I look in the mirror and I make sure that the bucket is flipped over. I need about 4 feet of water for that to happen. And once it's filled, you just pull in power and you lift up and the bucket comes with you. You fly to the fire.
When carrying the capacity of 240 gallons of water, he has just under a ton of weight suspended from his bird. The drops are what we in TV call the money shots. The pilot picks an angle and uses good old Kentucky windage, bombs away. And it's all simply done by pushing a button.
There's a long cable that runs from the head of the bucket down to a door on the bottom, and it releases just a switch that releases the cable, and the weight of the water opens the door and the water comes out.
The drops can knock down flames or cool an area in front of an advancing one. John jokes it's better to miss on the green side and that his aim gets better as the season rolls along. Maine has about 500 wildfires a year, most very small, burning about an acre per fire. Helicopters are used on 2 to 4 per day during the busy season.
After about 25 or 30 years of flying, it's still exciting. You know, anytime you're going to help somebody, it's gratifying. But the fact that it's still fun, you know, you've got fire on the ground, you've got people on the ground that are putting that out, and you're helping them in the process. It's all great.
We often hear that more volunteer firefighters are needed in Maine. Forest fires are part of the reason why. Local volunteers work hard, responding to dangerous situations on the ground. Still, as always, more help is needed, especially from young volunteers.
An example of a fire in the western part of the state, only about a 35-minute flight from here. Last October, it was on the side of a small mountain, and when I got there, there were 6 vehicles from 6 different towns, and there were 11 firefighters there, all of them probably over the age of 50.
Forest fires are an almost constant threat in Maine. A lot of good people respond when the alarm sounds. Some come in helicopters that bring water and safety from the air.